Passes 5-0.
Item number 13, introduction and first read of an ordinance increasing the city's campaign contribution limit to adjust for inflation. Presentation by Colin Burns, our attorney for the city.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. The item before you is proposing to raise Fountain Valley's $500 limit on campaign contributions. The limit was first imposed in 1986. I have heard that Fountain Valley was the first in the county to actually put in its own campaign limits. Fountain Valley has always had very strict campaign limits, but with inflation, the passage of time, now it's been over 35 years, it might be a good time to just revisit it and relook at the limit. The limit is substantially lower than that which is allowed by the FPPC. The state law allows city candidates to accept up to $5,500 from individual donors if the city hasn't enacted a limit. The current gift limit under state law is $590. So we're in a situation that is somewhat inconsistent where a person can come up and give a local elected official $590 with no strings attached, but the elected official can only accept $500 for a campaign contribution, where the campaign contribution has to be put on a form. It can only be used for specific purposes. It has to be tightly accounted. The Ninth Circuit last year also looked at a case in Alaska that imposed a $500 limit and said that the $500 limit for individual campaign contributions impacted First Amendment rights because it didn't allow a person a reasonable opportunity to run against an incumbent. That decision was very fact-driven, but it does suggest that there is some scrutiny at the $500 level. The biggest issue, though, is inflation. $500 in 2023 has the same purchasing power that $182 had in 1986. To put it another way, it takes $1,372 to buy what $500 could buy back in 1986. So that's why the staff report and the recommendation that I put in the staff report uses $1,372, but ultimately it's council's discretion. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Colin. Do we have any questions?
I would point out, didn't Huntington Beach recently change their contribution limit?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure of
I believe they did. I believe they removed it, and now they're at 5,500.
Yeah, they went to the state limit
With
of
the state limit,
5,500.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Can you elaborate, if you can, elaborate a little bit more about the Ninth Circuit?
Sure. Alaska had a law that, it had a number of provisions connected. Looking to the individual limit, it said that an individual cannot donate to a state or local candidate anything more than $500. And one of the political parties challenged it. It went to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit decided that $500, you look at campaign contributions and the need to limit campaign contributions, and there is a need, but only where it is meant to stop quid pro quo. And they said if you take it down, if you take it all the way down to $500, it limits a person's opportunity to challenge an incumbent, because an incumbent has the off-year time that they can solicit campaign contributions. They can build it up over time. They don't have to run in a primary election for state officers, unlike city officers. But basically, the Ninth Circuit came down and said this limit that applies to state and local officers in the context of Alaska was unconstitutional. It violated the First Amendment right of people who wanted to run against incumbents.
So what happened in the end?
They got rid of the limit.
Thank you.
Sure.
Colin, can you go over the state law that started on January 1st, which states that if we accept a campaign contribution of $250 or greater, that for a 12-month period, we must recuse ourselves and walk away from any vote that comes before us where we received a campaign contribution?
That's exactly correct. Yes, the law went into effect January 1 that says that, exactly as Mayor Pro Tem said, if a council member receives a contribution at $250 or above, that council member must recuse and must actually report the fact that they received that for a 12-month period after the contribution, and cannot accept a contribution 12 months before the council member knows that they have whoever the donor is coming before council. So there's very strict rules that completely take away the ability to act on a donor's project, issue, whatever it is, if they donated $250 or over.
Okay. Any other comments? Because I have a few. Okay.
Mayor Constantine, I'd like to make
Sure.
a comment, and this is just to introduce some fact and some evidence into this discussion.
I'm holding the invoice for my printing, which was last year, and this is just for information to show how much campaign costs have increased. So just to print a 6.5 by 9-inch card to go to the entire city, which was 19,239 homes, that cost was $5,421. So that's just one small mailer, one time. So I just want to introduce that for some evidence.
Sure. Okay, so I want to hold firm, please, on the $500. We don't need it. We don't need big money in the city. To people, $500 is a lot of money. And I'll give you my numbers. All my forms are on file with on the website with the FPPC. When I ran in 2014, my spending was $3,455. In 2016, it was $2,800. I was elected in 2018, and I spent $970. $970. No signs, no ads, no calls, no robocalls, no door knocking, no mailers. And then in 2022, I was just reelected, and before the election, to be elected, I spent $2,338 with another $650 afterwards. So if you look at the 2018, I mean, that could be interpreted as 2 campaign contributions of $500. We don't need big money in the city. And some of our council members, you know, in the past, we've seen $50,000 for a campaign, $70,000 for a campaign, and it's a lot. We're at a 40-year inflationary high, and I don't think it's warranted. Personally, I'd like to see like a $5,000 cap on an election. I'd be willing to go to like $7,500 on the whole election, but I don't like this. Anything else?
We do have 2 requests to speak on.
Oh, sure, of course. Public speakers.
First speaker is Katy Wright.
Greetings again, all. At the risk of boring anyone, my second husband was a much older man, and he lived through a fascinating time. He was a great source of wisdom. He used to make his living as a door-to-door salesman back in the day. He used to sell insurance. He'd say, no one has endurance like the man who sells insurance. He would go knocking door to door. People knew when Joseph Lawson went through their neighborhood. They thought highly of him. They got to know him. They did or didn't buy insurance, etc. At one time, he was a floor brush man, etc. I would love, and I know I'm a Luddite, but I would love to see us going back to where citizens got a chance to get to know the candidates. The 6x9 mailer, I got one on my door, and I thought, well, this is odd. I asked my neighbors, hey, did you get one of these, or was I the only one in the neighborhood that got it? 2 neighbors on one side and 1 neighbor on the other side said, I don't remember. If I did, I threw it away. This is a very common response, and you all know it. Just saying. The robocall, there was a nightmare some election back. I wasn't living here, but someone had set up to have a robocall service, and it went off in the middle of the night, which of course didn't do that candidate any favors. Robocalling is very expensive. People don't like it. If I ever get a robocall, that's on my do not ever vote for this person list. I feel very similar to the glitzy postcards. I don't like them. I don't like the money that's spent on them. Printers probably don't like me. But I would highly suggest, part of the reason a lot of people don't get to know the candidates, and we had a lot of candidates this last time, it was a bumper crop. Darrell Myman Brown had a day meet the candidate in the park. A lot of people met her in the park. A lot of people never knew about it. A lot of people set up their own grassroots, meet the people, got a lot of following. A lot of people really cared about a lot of candidates and what they had to say. I would suggest save everyone a lot of money. Don't do this. I would love to see it go down to a $100 contribution from anybody under any pretense. A lot of citizens feel very badly misused about the whole Slater investment situation, and not to pick on one particular developer, but it opens the door that people distrust everyone who's supported by a developer. Good, bad, or indifferent. Set it up to where you could reserve one particular room, say at the community center, recreation center, and have a series of weekly meet the candidate events, one candidate at a time. Every single candidate gets their evening on the company's dime or As a collective, I don't know how fundraisers sell Girl Scout cookies, car wash. I'll go wash cars for everybody to have their own little day and night, whatever. But this is just too lopsided for candidates who have connections. How about new people who want to get in the door who could really do wonders for the city and the citizens, but they don't have the name recognition? Too many people vote on the name and face recognition, which is bought and paid for by big money. And my time's up. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Jaye Towne. She's on Zoom. Jaye?
Hi, everybody. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Jaye, your 3 minutes are starting now.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Thank you, City Council and Mayor Constantine. I agree with Mayor Constantine and Katy. We are a small community of 60,000 people. We do not need huge money coming in to flood us. Let's save a tree. We don't need huge money coming in to flood us with more and more advertising. I don't watch TV anymore because I can't stand all the advertising. I throw away reams of paper every week, and I'm sure you do too, from all the unsolicited mail that comes to the house. We've got to get control of this. This is crazy. I'm happy that Jim was able to come up with all this money to do these fancy brochures and multiple mailings, but I got to tell you, I only needed one. I didn't need one every couple weeks. We did a meet the candidates here at my house. A lot of people did. You don't need to do that. You need to be in the community, active in the community, care about the community. You don't need big bucks. And we don't need high-density housing, and we don't need ADUs, and we don't need any of that other stuff. So thank you.
I have no other requests to speak on this item.
Okay. Any further discussion? Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Although I'm, sensitive to the perception of influence of campaign contributions over decisions that could happen, this $250 law that just came into effect is certainly an attempt by the state to curb this practice. And I think anybody that is going to serve will have to think twice about taking a contribution from a developer or somebody who's going to be in front of the council. On the other hand, there's people that in your circle of friends that when you run for office, you talk to your mom and dad first, then maybe some of your relatives, and then you try to reach out to your circle of friends. And it's tough to raise money, and although Mayor Constantine was fortunate enough to win with on a shoestring budget, not all of us are as skilled in that method of campaigning. So I think that boosting it to 1,000 would make it easier for general candidates to run an effective campaign. So, I think to Katy's point, where you want people to kind of get out there and be able to compete with other candidates, I think this boost will help that effort, and I don't think it will cause big money, as some people have put it, to control the campaign, but it will provide an extra boost. And I think considering inflation and that it was 1986 when we initiated this limit, I would be in favor of boosting it to change it to $1,000, and that would be the amount going forward. And then maybe in another 35 years we'll have to revisit it again.
Any further discussion?
All right, I will make a motion to approve the limit to raise it to $1,000.
So it's a substitute motion, technically speaking, because this is a first read with a specific
It's, Madam Mayor, it's a motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay.
We have a first by Councilmember Harper. I'm waiting for a second. Seeing none. Waiting for a motion.
No. What happened? I moved it. There, I moved it again.
There was no second to
Oh, so
the
I'm-
motion, so
okay.
without a second, the motion dies.
Okay.
Are we done with that?
I now have a motion to approve the item as presented by Mayor Pro Tem Grandis, with a second by Councilmember Bui. Please vote. Item number 13 passes 3-2.